What's up, guys? You know who it is. Marcus J. Jackson with another Live Life episode for you. All right. So tonight we're going to be talking about submission. All right. Understanding submission. Okay. I had a very interesting conversation with a young man today. And we discussed a little bit about the Bible and what the Bible had to say about submission in marriage, particularly discussing 1 Peter chapter 3. And there were some other scriptures that I want to say Ephesians. We talked about as well, but in particular, 1 Peter chapter 3 talked about submission, or not submission per se, but talked a little bit about how the wife was to submit to the husband, so therefore you never know if the husband is going to basically watch your behavior and then, convert or be compelled by your behavior and decide to be saved per se, or, or believe the same way that the wife believes, So touched on that a little bit. But the biggest thing that he talked about was that his wife, or a wife, is supposed to submit to a husband, and that is, and that's basically it. That's the bottom line. The wife submits to the husband no matter what. And I was like, wow, okay. All right. And I can recall, I remember, some of those scriptures being brought up, when I was younger, and having to deal with them. So even then, I myself don't believe that that it's talking about submit under, any circumstance whatsoever. All right. It's not a situation where you're submitting, you're showing being submissive to your husband or wife forcefully by them either beating you or putting you in some type of position to where you have to submit to them. So a couple of things that I want to cover tonight. One, definitely being submission is a choice. All right, and I'm going to talk about that too. That's number one. It's a choice. Two, there's a great responsibility that comes with, warranting submissive behavior, if you will. I even hate to say it like that, but, I think this is definitely something that we need to touch on, especially those of us who are, have a pretense as far as being religious per se, or we're patterning ourselves, by the Bible, and things of that nature. So, okay, so let's take care of that. That's weird, but anyway, so what else did I want to touch on? So a little bit, you're definitely going to have some responsibility. So I think that's it. See, responsibility, choice, and And there's also limits, definitely limits to being submissive, right? There's a certain amount of there's a limitation to that. It doesn't, you know, it doesn't mean that you're going to be submissive no matter what. Okay. So anyway, with that being said, let me go into put my, oh no, that's not it. I need to put my resources in there for you guys. As you know, I'm on here just about every night. Well, I'm available just about every night. Hold on. Golly. Copy and paste. You know, basically just bringing awareness to hotmail.com to domestic violence and suicide prevention. And some, as you know, this month is the month of October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. So I did put the contact information in there as well for personal consultations. MarcusandFoxy.com if you need those. We also have the Cash Me app for donations for I Speak Foxy, which is an organization that focuses on domestic violence, those who have had that experience. So if you feel compelled to donate, or if you received any type of value from this information whatsoever, from this video, please share it. You know, and if you feel compelled to donate, please do. You know, what all we ask for is $1 to help out the cause per se, because when people are trying to get out of a domestic violence situation, they need things. They need cash on hand. They also need toiletries. Sometimes they are leaving with the clothes that they have on their back, and sometimes they have children as well. So you know, if we could help out with, you know, toiletries, clothes, you know, around this time of year, coats and socks and things of that nature, will definitely be appreciated as well. So just reach out to me so we can, you know, connect and get that taken care of as well. The National Domestic Violence Hotline is 1-800-799-7233, or 1-800-799-SAFE, S-A-F-E. All right, and that website is thehotline.org. Okay. If you are in danger of hurting yourself or someone else, please call 911. I need you and want you to get help immediately. All right. The National Suicide Prevention Lifeline is 1-800-273-8255. All right. So the Suicide Prevention Lifeline .org is the website for that one. They also have a 24/7 chat line as well. Okay. And there's plenty of other resources there for a different country. There's a kids helpline. And there's also my email address as well. So feel free to reach out. Like I said, I make myself available from 12 a.m. to 2 a.m. And if you don't see me do a go live, you're always welcome to call. My contact number is 469-626-7486. All right. Let me see what else we got. I think that's it. Any more comments? Somebody popped on there. They wasn't too happy. Okay. And that's fine too, you know. Anyway. All right, that's done. That's done. Awesomeness. Okay, so let's get it rocking and rolling. So understanding submission. All right. Submission is the Greek word hupostasso, which means basically to yield to the leadership of another, right? That's basically what submission is, and it basically has the same meaning in English as well. You're submitting to the will, or you're yielding to the will of the leadership of someone else, basically. And it also has there's another word called hypostasis, right? And that's understanding, right? We have that word faith. The English word for hypostasis is faith. So every man is given their measure of understanding, right? So hypostaso and hypostasis are very, very similar in meaning. They kind of both have that context of you're standing other, or you're under, or you're in submission to. Okay, so keep that in mind. So a little bit of etymology there. So let's go. Let's. Being submissive doesn't mean that, you know, you do whatever I tell you to do as my wife, or whatever I tell you to do as my husband, or you know, or if you don't do what I tell you to do, or if you don't fall in line with the way we should be living our life, you know, you're not being submissive. And I think a lot of times we take that out of context, and for simply because we don't know. And if you never go into the actual in-depth study, and you can really miss a lot if you're just simply listening to somebody say, you know, submit to your wife, and or interpret the scripture telling you, you know, you should be submissive, or the husband is the head of the household, and, you know, blah, 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 blah. When ultimately, the relationship itself isn't about submission or standing under someone at all. It's like communication. And I know a lot of times when I do relationship coaching, there is communication is there, but it's not effective, right? You're communicating, but then you have to focus on what it is that you're communicating, how you're communicating, right? And what message is the person receiving? You know, what are you trying to say, and what message are they receiving? So it's very important to, in a relationship, not so much that there has to be a quote unquote designated leader of the relationship, as in I make all the decisions and everybody must do what I say. It's more of a balanced, more of a teamwork approach to understanding the position that, for example, perfect example, when you're communicating with somebody, there has to be someone talking, and there has to be somebody to listen, right? So if we're both talking at the same time, the message isn't getting through effectively, right? Because nobody's listening. All right. So it's not so much as, you know, one has to submit to the other, but in order to effectively communicate, somebody has to talk, right? And somebody has to listen. That means you have to listen to what's being said in order to receive the message that's being communicated to you. Okay. So you can't, it's not about anybody being higher or anybody being submissive to one another. It's coming together under the realization that, okay, this is not going to get done if one of us doesn't listen, or if one of us doesn't talk, right? You know, so at some point we have to realize that, okay, well, we aren't going to get this message through if we both keep talking. So there has to be a mutual understanding that, okay, you're going to talk and I'm going to listen. Then I'm going to talk and you're going to listen, right? So that's about as fundamentally sound as I can break it down, right? Because a lot of times we try to make these things like so cosmic and so, oh man, you know, that's so hard to do. And how could you do this and how do you do that? And, you know, and there's really no secret to having a healthy relationship except understanding the position that each other's in. And I'll give you another example. It's just like a football team. Just because I'm the quarterback doesn't mean the whole team is submissive to me. You know, it doesn't necessarily mean that, but we will put that connotation on it because we feel like there's a hierarchy placed on the football team. The quarterback is more important because he's the one delivering the ball. You know, well, if there's nobody there to catch the ball, then what good is the quarterback? If there's nobody to hand the ball off to, what good is the quarterback, right? So once that ball is hiked and there's no offensive line there to protect the quarterback, then what good is the quarterback, right? It makes no sense. Yes, the quarterback position is for the quarterback to manage the game, right? He's managing the game, right? But if nobody's there, he's not going to be able to manage anything, all right? He's going to get crushed because, you know, he wants everyone to submit to him, right? So it has to be a mutual understanding, right? The receiver is at an understanding that in order for the ball to advance down the field, that the quarterback is going to have to throw it to me, and as the receiver, I am going to have to catch it, okay, to try and score the touchdown or try and get the first down, okay, or the running back. The running back can't be upset or feeling sideways about the quarterback because he's in a better position, you know, or the running back has to submit to the quarterback. No, it's a mutual understanding. You know, you're going to call the play, right? Hand the ball off to me, then I'm going to advance the ball down the field. That is the purpose of the game. Okay. So just keep that in mind, just to give you guys a few examples of how things like this work, because a lot of times we will end entire relationships with divorce or breakup or different kinds of heartbreak because we have failed in our understanding of what being submissive is. You know, we have the biblical context of what being submissive is, and we don't, you know, there's no room or knowledge. There's no room to receive any other knowledge about what that actually means, right? So, you know, so with that being said, hopefully that kind of helped out. So, and here's the thing. Why would you want to, why would you want somebody to beat you? You know, why would you want somebody to physically force you to do something, you know, that they ask you to do? You know, why do you have to threaten someone in order for, I don't understand why you would want that. You know, why do you have to, I wouldn't want to be with someone that I have to beat on to make them agree with me or you know, do simple tasks, simple daily tasks together where, you know, if she didn't cook or she didn't clean, in order for her to cook and clean next time, I have to beat on her or him. I have to beat on him to make him cook or clean up. Like, I mean, as a wife, you shouldn't, why would you want a man that you have to go and literally beat on him to go out and cut the grass or go out and take the trash out? Like, I mean, that's, I don't know. That's just something that, hey, I've never understood, but you know, it's very interesting when you go into the mind of the abuser. And just like I did the video, watch number 57, Live Life 57. I go into the mindset of the abuser. So it's pretty interesting to dig into, but definitely check that video out. but yeah, the point in a relationship is to have someone, not so much as a leader per se, but somebody has to make the decision, right? Like we can't argue. I know, like me and Foxy would be like, well, I'll ask her, hey babe, what you want to eat? And she'll be like, I don't know. And I was like, okay, well, let me know if you see something you like. Okay, I don't know. I'm just hungry, right? So I don't know what I want to eat. I just stop somewhere, and whatever you choose, that's fine. So then when I stop somewhere, she'll be like, oh, well, I don't really like that. And it's like, really? So, but but it's basically, she wants me to make a decision. You know what I'm saying? And when I ask her, hey, if you want something to eat, whatever she decides on what she wants to eat is cool with me. But, when it's the other way around, maybe she's decisive, maybe she's indecisive, you never know. But the point is to understand that, hey, somebody has to make a decision, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be, the leader of the family makes all the decisions, at some point, somebody's got to make a decision, whether that be the man or the woman, right? You have to come together and hopefully you agree on the decision. But sometimes making that tough decision is understanding that one of us might not agree, but I got to go ahead and make it. You know what I'm saying? So at some point, I'm going to go ahead and stop at the Waffle House or stop at IHOP or stop somewhere so we can go ahead and eat, So that's definitely something, you just want to, you definitely want to keep that in mind. And it's more, this is just providing you with more of an understanding than what the biblical context gives you, or what you may have heard in church and so on and so forth. Because a lot of times we just need a little more of an explanation on these things, right? And sometimes, you never know where that comes from. So, like I said, this is a platform, very, very open platform, and so questions, comments are appreciated, the whole 9 yards. So, so let's go into the limits. Okay, so there's really the Bible doesn't really doesn't put limits on it per se. I know I was reading the Quran the other day, and there is a scripture in there that says, I can't call it, I'm paraphrasing, that husbands are to, it's the husband's responsibility to have the wife be submissive towards him. And, and it goes further and says, if she's not submissive, the husband has the right to beat her, right? Basically beat her into submission. And, the Bible doesn't really have anything set on that. It talks a little bit about a slave or a servant or a worker, basically saying it's okay to beat them. But as far as a wife and or a mate, it doesn't say beat them if they don't submit to you when it talks about the Bible, in a Bible context. So I would say a limitation, it's limited to understanding that if your quote unquote, if your husband isn't doing the things that the Bible deems right or deems necessary to live a whole life per se. Who is that? Somebody trying to reach out to me. All right, I'll get back with you in a little bit. So it doesn't necessarily, it doesn't say, hey, submit under these conditions or submit under those conditions. It basically gives you the context of, okay, so Then it even talks about husbands, love your wife as Christ loved the church and gave himself for her. And there's a few more scriptures in there that lend to the submission or the wife submitting to the husband. There's not, I don't think there's any scriptures in there that says husbands submit to the wife, right? And with that, we take that and we say, okay, well, the Bible says that the wife is supposed to submit to the husband, or, you know, the woman is supposed to submit to the man, right? And not understanding that there's a lot more to that. You know, especially any of us that are actually married, you know, or, you know, you're in a long-term relationship and, you know that there's more to it than just that. So, you know, with that being said, there is a limitation. There's no, you know, you submit to the husband under any circumstance. All right. There's limitations to that. So if you know that this person is operating outside of the agreement that you, not so much as the Bible, but the agreement that you and him, or you and this other party have set up, you and your significant other have set up the arrangement and agreed to whatever contract you agreed to, right? Whether it be the Christian concept or any other concept that you put forth or live your life by or pattern your marriage by, okay? If they're operating outside of that, then how can you be submissive, okay? So if you're Christian and you operate, and this person is operating outside the Bible, and, you know, how can you be submissive to that? You know, how can you be submissive when someone is beating on you, or they're threatening your life, or verbally abusing you, or doing, you know, they're forcing you to do this, you know, which will take me into my next point. Submission, or a woman or a man being submissive, should be voluntary. All right. The whole point is for voluntary submission, or voluntary compliance, if you will. You want this to be, it should never be forced. And as men, you should never walk around quoting 1 Peter in the Bible. I don't suggest that at all. That's just something that you don't want to say to a woman every time things start to go sideways in your relationship. You know, you yelling out, you know, 1 Peter chapter 3, you know, quoting verses from there, you know, telling her how she needs to be submissive to you. That's the wrong answer. That's the wrong answer. I mean, you know, that's just not something that I would advise you do, you know, at times. And, you know, when it's those times, you know what I'm talking about. So definitely, that's something that you want voluntary compliance. Like I said, why would you want somebody that you have to beat on to get along with? Right. I mean, it you know, seems very, very counterintuitive to me. So definitely, you know, you don't want anybody treating you like garbage, or having to treat you like garbage in order for you to do what they say do. You know, those are red flags, and these are things that you have to be very, very mindful of when you're in a domestic violence situation. And a lot of times these things will lead to a suicide because the person feels trapped and they feel like there's no way out, but they don't want to go through the pain of being beat on and put down and, you know, discouraged by, you know, the person who so-called loved them. So they, you know, they don't understand that becomes very overwhelming, and then suicide becomes an alternative. Okay. You know, and that's something that I feel like we can all avoid if we understand some of the basic concepts in which, you know, these things like understanding submission in a marriage or in a relationship, understanding that there's limits, you know, there's responsibilities to it, and it's a choice. So that choice to be submissive should be voluntary. Like, you should be down. That's a choice. It's not something that's done by force, right? So keep that in mind. What else? Choice. And what else? What else? What else? The responsibility of a submissive person, or basically, how would you, once you do, let's say you do have a submissive wife, right? Or you have a submissive husband or whatever. There's a great responsibility that comes with that, because now you are in a leadership role, or you are making the decisions per se. And it comes to, the thing is that there's a trust right there. You trust this person to lead, or you trust this person to follow, right? Based on the decisions that you make together. So it's not the responsibility is shared by the one that's being submissive and the one that's the so-called leader. Even in that, there's an understanding that a decision has to be made, right? Somebody has to make a decision. And that's what the whole key to it right there. Somebody has to voluntarily, be okay with the decision that you make. Foxy has to be okay with the decision that I make to go to the Waffle House, or go to IHOP, if we're undecided on where we're going to go. So she's going to trust that I'm not going to take her to McDonald's. She knows I'm not going to pull up there and eat anything. So, she trusts the decision to be left in my hands to pick somewhere, that I know she might like to eat, a Pancake House, or, Recipe Oak Cliff, or, South Dallas Cafe, something like that. Like, she knows that, she knows I'm not going to pull up to a Burger King, because she trusts my decision making as far as, foods that we eat or whatever. She'll be okay with me saying, you know what, let's just go home and cook something. And, she'll be okay with that. So it's not a matter, or if she says, hey, babe, I changed my mind, let's just go home and cook something. There's a mutual understanding that not so much as submissive as in we're standing under each other, right? It's a mutual agreement of choice, our choice to be voluntarily compliant with the decisions that each other make. Okay, so let's shift the mindset of the submissive, what we're looking at in an actual real life relationship. Let's switch that mindset to more of an understanding that a decision has to be made in a relationship. It has to. Somebody's got to make a decision on big things like, are we going to buy a house? Are we going to buy a car? You can't sit there and say, well, are we going to buy a car? I don't know. Are we going to buy a car? Are we going to buy a house? No, I don't know. Are we going to buy a house? Okay, well, I think we should buy a house. I think we should buy a house too. Are we going to buy a house? I don't know. Are we going to buy a house? Like, it it doesn't make sense to sit there and go back and forth with each other. Somebody has to make a decision. So that's where that mutual choice to be voluntarily towards each other, voluntarily compliant or submissive, if you will, if you have to use those words. But anyway, that's pretty much it. I just wanted to highlight a couple of points on that. So, you have to come to terms with the responsibility that, gaining submission takes some, it takes studying, your mate. It takes knowing your mate, knowing what, I know what Foxy likes. I know the things that she likes to do. I know the things she likes to read. I know the things that, make her excited. I know the things that, I know what to say to her, to the comments or the compliments to give her to make her heart skip a beat, and, where I get that huge smile, and, I know she'll be excited for me to make plans or make a decision for her. you know, as far as going out or taking initiative and things like that. And she knows the same for me. So we know each other. We study each other. So therefore, we're constantly trying to outdo each other in good deeds per se, right? So, you know, she'll do something awesome for me. I'll do something awesome for her. And we'll just go back and forth like that. So we're always in a state of submission to each other, if you want to put it that way, you know. So, you know, that's what you work towards, being submissive towards each other. Work toward the agreement of voluntary compliance and decision making, right? Because, like I said, you know, you don't want to get caught in that goopy loop saying, well, what do you want to do? Well, what do you want to do? You know, at some point, somebody has to make a decision. And that's basically, you know, the sum of everything. And hopefully you got a little bit of a clearer, if that's a word, understanding of what submission is, and not and not so much as a, you know, a hierarchy thing. It's an agreed, if it's a hierarchy, it's an agreed hierarchy in order to make decisions on your day-to-day life. You know, whether it be something long-term or short-term, you want voluntary compliance on both ends in order, you know, to effectively communicate and effectively carry the, you know, the relationship forward. All right. You don't want to have to, you know, beat on each other in order to make a decision. All right. So with that being said, guys, I'm going to go ahead and head on out right at 37 minutes. So thank you so much. And once again, if you are able to, please donate to the I Speak Foxy organization. She has a Facebook page. Foxy, my wife, Foxy Jackson, is the founder of I Speak Foxy. And it caters to domestic violence, sexual assault, and sexual violence, those who've experienced that, right? A lot of times they're in those situations. They have the opportunity to escape, or they have an opportunity to get away, and they escape and get away with the clothes on their back. So they do, sometimes we do need money in order to help them, because the shelter may be full. We may have to get a hotel room, and sometimes we pay for that out of our own pocket. And I would like to, you know, if you would, hey, all I ask is for $1. And I figure, you know, if Kanye could ask for $1 billion, you know, get on the mic and ask everybody for $1 billion, I figure we can ask for everybody for $1, you know. So anyway, listen, live life to the fullest, guys. Y'all take it easy. Try not to do too much. Peace. Mm-mm-mm. Mm-mm-mm-mm.